2007. Time travel is a reality, and it's fallen into criminal hands. With history itself at risk, the United States has formed the Time Enforcement Commission, a top-secret agency responsible for policing the temporal stream.
Welcome to Canceled. Sorry for the delay, but we are back. We just wrapped up John from Cincinnati with Brett Revort, which was super weird and fun, and I enjoyed learning that show existed. But, by the way, also we are doing a video today, so if you we haven't put it out, it's not live, but if it works out, it'll be up on the YouTube channel. There'll be a link in the show description. But we are back, and we are doing, holy shit.
I'm excited.
First off, that's Jay Whitecotton. Jay, how are you doing?
Hi. I'm doing good, man.
Jay, all right, so we're doing 1997's
Hell yeah.
Timecop. Now, well, you just told me, surprisingly, walking up the stairs, you remember this show.
Yeah, I love bad shows.
Well, I grew up, so now, this is going to be a weird question. You grew up poor.
Very.
As did I. Shitty television, like just having shitty television was like you just had like antenna TV or whatever that I'd have for most of my life. And eventually, we ended up getting
with the aluminum foil on the
yeah. So you would just watch what was on, which was a lot of like shitty syndicated television. So like your Xena Warrior Princesses and
followed by Hercules.
The
block.
If you go even back further, it was like that War of the Worlds TV show and
V
all that shit, right?
Yeah.
This feels very much like that, except no, this was on ABC in 1997.
I saw it on the Sci-Fi Channel right around 9/11.
Well, which was a bigger tragedy.
Well, no, that's where I mark my TV watching habits is how far away it was.
From before or after 9/11?
9/11's my Breaking Bad. Okay. It's the best. It still hasn't ended. It's the longest running show on television.
Now you know the movie. I'm assuming.
Yeah, the Claude Van Damme.
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Is Dolph Lundgren in that one, or am I thinking of Universal Soldier? Damn it!
Yeah.
All right, I have images of both in my head.
Sure, all those Van Damme movies fucking blend together.
You telling me he wasn't trying to avenge his brother's death?
Oh, I'm sure he was at some point. Well, no, it's his wife's murder. Same thing.
Yeah.
He has to go back in time to solve his wife's murder, but then it's not like Ron Silver's running around.
He's got to go back in time to do the splits.
Yeah, pretty much. Which I'm trying to remember. I feel like, he probably does the splits in that one. I will say this, though. It's such a funny choice because when you hear they're going to do a Timecop TV show, right? Oh, this guy's going to be like a karate guy.
Right.
He is decidedly not a karate guy.
He's honestly, you made me watch the first two episodes, and I'll never forgive you.
We're going to watch the rest of this season, by the way.
I'm down.
Okay, good, because that's how this plays out. We're doing 4 more episodes of this. We're finishing the show.
It's did you ever see Max Headroom?
Sure.
It's the same format.
Interesting.
It's the exact same format. If you ever get a chance, watch old Max Headroom. Go back to back, because I actually did that on accident. I've been watching Max Headroom, but it's almost the same plot line, the same relationship between the guy and the girl in the show. It's the same thing.
That is fucking weird. I will say, so this show, let's start with the pilot. It opens in Victorian England, right?
As it should.
It's 1780 or 1888, right?
Yeah,
something like that. And I was like, as soon as there's like a prostitute, and I was like, oh, it's Jack the Ripper. They're doing Jack the Ripper. He's going to go back in time and stop Jack the Ripper.
Which is the best use of time travel.
Go back in time and fix problems, right? Can't do that. Here's what's so shitty about this show, right? They kind of set up this interesting premise of like, So the time police are there to stop time crimes, meaning people from going back in time and changing the timeline, because if you go back and kill somebody, butterfly effect, the whole fucking world's different, right?
Right. Who created that? The guy from 2001, the guy who wrote
Stanley Kubrick?
Not Kubrick. Kubrick's the director.
Okay, then I have no idea.
Not Isaac Asimov, but one of the other.
Oh, like Philip K. Dick, one of those.
Yeah, one of those nerds.
Yeah, I don't know any of those nerds. We're both staring into each other's glasses, by the way.
Yeah.
Which nerd? Yeah.
Oh, man, someone must be furious.
For sure, somebody knows it's not me. But yeah, so it's the whole butterfly effect thing, right?
John Grisham.
Yeah. Clearly. They go back. That's the whole premise of the show. They ignore it immediately. Everything, he goes back and he's immediately changing things.
Telling people who they should marry.
Yeah. He changes. Okay, we'll get to the fucking big reveal of the nephew in time. So the premise is he goes back and we see a guy with like night vision goggles. We're like, oh, that's going to be Mr. Timecop. And I'm watching it. I'm like, why is he taking so long?
The futuristic.
Well, it is. Here's the thing.
Hannibal Lecter, Buffalo Bill.
This is what I love from sci-fi. If you go back and watch, they didn't pitch it far enough into the future.
Yeah.
So this takes place in 1997. It's 2007.
Yes.
They thought in 10 years time travel was going to be a thing.
Not only just a thing, everyone's cool with it.
Well, that's what's fucking weird, are they? Because there's like. That's more in the second episode, but there's a character in the second episode who goes, Time Cops, what are you guys, in charge of all the clocks? No, asshole, this is time travel world. Fucking idiot. Anyway, so what we find out is he's not the cop, he's a bad guy. He kills Jack the Ripper, and he is going to take over for that Jack the Ripper and be a better Jack the Ripper, because he has like an electric knife. He has a knife that's just like...
That's electric.
But what I say is a knife that's electric. He doesn't have like that thing your father carved turkey with at Thanksgiving. He just has a blade that has lightning bolts going through it for some reason.
It's a lightsaber for poor people.
It's so shitty. We go now to the future. It's 2007. There's a terrible opening monologue, which I tried to write down. Like I tried to make a note for. I must have tried like 5 times, and every time I'd get like a sentence in, I'd be like, "Oh fuck this stupid thing."
That's sad. That means someone actually took time to write it. You couldn't even take the time to copy it.
No, it's terrible. Because as soon as they get to like a time enforcement agency, I was like, I can't listen to this. There is so much terrible time science fiction jargon in this show.
Yeah.
They refer to going back in time as a temporal insertion. That is gross. I don't just like insertion is a bad word. It's just real gross.
Temporal implies too much.
We have the biggest name in this show is Kurt Fuller, who is legit great.
Yeah, he's in everything, right? Isn't there like a documentary on him being
he's around a ton. He's one of those like I would have known like you.
He was Bob in Groundhog's Day.
No. You're thinking of Stephen Tobolowsky.
They're not the same person?
No. Kurt Fuller is also in everything. You might know him from the Hulk Hogan vehicle No Holds Barred, where he is the head of the cable agency. He's also in like 1,000 things. He's just been around.
Those got to be the same guy.
I wish.
Bald, tall
and bald, glasses. He's the like guy his job is to just know things about the past.
No, that's okay. That's what I was trying to figure out. Like, there's a scene in the first episode. We're not watching the first one. We're going straight to the third. Right?
No, we're talking about the first episode. We watched the first 2 episodes. We watched Jack the Ripper and the heist, right?
Okay, my favorite thing to establish his character is they asked him, hey, what was the name of that hooker that was killed by Jack the Ripper in 2007? Google.
Yeah, it's 2007. It's 1997.
They went to a guy. He immediately goes, oh, hold on, and runs to a computer to Google it.
His job, but he's got like a tiny library, and he just likes tabloids. That's his whole thing. He's like, this is where the real story is, or whatever. Like it's Men in Black. But he fucking. Yeah, so he is actually like the best actor in the show. The biggest second name actor in this show is the guy who played Donna's dad on the Sat 70 show, like the boss.
He looked I think that was like 2 years before he did that other show.
Probably
looked terrible in that other show. Those 2 years destroyed him. Timecap ruined him.
He also Kurt Fuller's character. So what they find out is this guy who's gone back. He's killed. One of the prostitutes who Jack the Ripper killed is found dead, and there's a man next to him, which we know to be the person who was actually Jack the Ripper, and he goes, "Oh, it's Jack Whitehall or whatever." That's not his name. That is a comedian from England. However, whatever the guy, maybe the
who does kill,
and Kurt Fuller's like, oh, well, that's Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, what? He's like, yeah, that's, And they're like, what do you mean? Like, nobody ever solved that crime or whatever? And he goes, well, I've done the research, and it's him. He's Jack the Ripper. That's all. That's it. He just solves the fucking most famous unsolved murder in history offhandedly.
But yeah, that is fine with, because honestly, they just figured out who Jack the Ripper was, and no one gave a shit.
Oh, did they figure it out?
Yeah. It was some American who ended up in Australia or something like that.
No way that's true. That being said...
It's always some American. I don't know.
Yeah. So they're going to send our hero, who, by the way, I have not learned his name. It's Logan something. I don't care. His name, it doesn't matter because he's dumb and he's useless. But before he goes back in time, he is put up. There's a female character who is also a comp, but like a scientist comp.
Written by a dude. You can tell.
Oh, yeah. 100%. There are no women involved in this show. But she is...
watched it, technically.
She is... Oh,
to be fair,
certain.
They knew their market.
That is the only woman who knows this show exists. She tells him, like, she's got to test out a piece of equipment on him where he's, like, got to look into something that's, like, flashing images or whatever.
Temporal.
Well, it's called a sublimator. And I know that because she goes... Because he says something like, you got your wacky picture machine up and running or whatever. And she goes, it's called a sublimator. Exactly like that.
I like that the time-traveling cop is dismissive of the technology.
That is so... okay, so him and Kurt Fuller and kind of the boss are all like over science, but they work for a fucking time travel agency. It is wild. Every one of them just like, he's like, I go with my instincts. Oh, and also I need this time travel thing on my wrist. Like, he's like, you just use science every minute of your fucking day.
So it's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
It's pretty accurate.
I would like to talk about the actual time travel in this show. And by that I mean the devices by which they travel through time. Because they put him in a little car. The car goes through a tunnel. There's flashing lights. And then when he comes out in the other end, he's not in a car. He just falls, like in this first episode, he falls from the sky into some lady's bed.
As you do.
As you do. Either you make a portal and you go through the portal, or you have a fucking time car. You don't do the time car and the goddamn portal. It doesn't make any fucking sense.
Can I point out another thing?
Yeah.
Every time he travels back in time, he wears this weird futuristic leather jumpsuit.
Motherfucker!
And has to find clothes. So that's their comedic edge. But when he comes back, he's in the old clothes.
Yeah, he's always just brings the clothes back with him. He just leaves his future leather suit there, apparently. That made me so mad in this episode because they have this whole thing of like, you can't let anybody know that you're from the future. Even the tiniest glimpse of that technology will shatter the fucking space-time continuum or whatever. And he just comes through dressed. He might as well have a t-shirt on that says I'm from the future. He's wearing like spaceman clothes.
He should have been like just some white trash dude.
Also, you can't just put him in an old-timey fucking clothes. You run a time travel fucking department.
Oh, no,
you don't have like a theater wing. You can just put him in a costume. It's so fucking dumb.
They don't have a props department in 2007.
The next episode, they sent him to the goddamn 70s. You can't find a pair of bell-bottoms in 2007?
They didn't shop in Austin.
It made me so fucking mad. It's like little shit like that is infuriating. I also want to say I kind of like this show.
I like it too. I just wish they picked a theme because it's like either the darkest show it could have been or the most lighthearted show.
Oh, it doesn't know what it wants. It doesn't. Well, even more. We'll talk about that, I think, more so in the next episode, which is odd because this episode is about prostitute murder. But so he goes back. So he has to go back.
They started the show
with Jack the Ripper. By the way, okay, so they go. He has to go back in time to find the person who's clearly also come back in time, take him with him so that the timeline isn't disturbed. I would like to say that they keep referring to they're watching time somehow on a monitor, right? And they're like, oh, look at this ripple. They say it repeatedly. They're watching the space-time continuum, and if there's a ripple, that means there's a disturbance. Somebody has gone back or something's changed, right? And they keep going, It's a level 5. Oh no, the ripple's gone up to a level 6. What the fuck are you talking about? I like the idea that you can just make up whatever. It's science fiction. It's all make 'em ups, right? But like, just give me some reason why it went from. How can you tell by walking? One time he's walking past the monitor and he's like, oh, it's a 6 now. How do you know that?
Arthur Clarke.
Well,
that was the guy.
Oh,
that was the author.
Okay.
It's the butterfly effect
guy.
Yeah.
He goes back in time. He finds the guy immediately. By the way, that is something that they do interestingly on the show. Both of these episodes we've watched, he finds the dude immediately, and then there's just more shit that has to be
Well, that's the thing about time travel is you kind of stand out.
For sure. One of them's wearing night vision goggles and has a laser sword.
I think that might be the guy from the future.
But also,
I don't think that's Tesla.
I would like to say he doesn't do any detective work to find him.
None.
He falls into this lady's bed. He punches her husband, steals his clothes, walks outside, hears a prostitute scream, and then just runs into Jack the Ripper. That is the extent of his police work.
You could tell also in the writing of the show, like the first episode, they actually tried. I think they really tried. In the second episode, I think they thought, oh, there's no way they're picking this up.
Oh, yeah. And so let's just get fucking weird with it.
There's weird little signs that let you know that the writers are in on this. Like, this is not going anywhere.
So he gets there. He fights with the dude for a little bit, but the guy gets away. And then the cops show up. One of them is the guy he punched for some reason. And now he's Jack the Ripper, right?
He couldn't pay.
Yeah, that's 100% right. They could not afford another actor for sure. They already gave him lines. I would also like to say that everyone is doing a slightly different British accent, which is very fun for me. Like,
I'm a royal cockney.
Yeah. But then, like, the cop is being, like, kind of more, like, the detective's a little prim and proper, but then, like, the prostitute's like, oh, what am I? I'm just a girl, whatever. I'm not good at that.
That's pretty hands-on.
He says this line to him at one point: once you've mastered the art of murder, you've touched the face of God.
I dug that line.
I kind of dug that line.
I dug that line. That is a ridiculous line, but it also sounds like something an asshole would say.
Sure, like a piece of shit would say that line.
Yeah.
And think he would, like, that's a real, like, kind of incelly. That feels incelly to me.
Yeah. I was thinking edgelord, like right on.
Yeah, right in that letter. So the prostitute, while he's fighting this guy, there's a lady pokes her head out of her building with a lamp and then goes back inside because there's a weirdo from the future. But here's what I found funny. She's got a lantern, right? And he's wearing a night vision goggles, so the brightness of the lantern hurts his eyes. Classic, has been as seen in 1,000 action movies, right? It never comes into play again. You would have thought, like, there's a moment where he sees that happen, and you think our time cop's going to be like, oh, look, if he's got the goggles, then I can flash a light in his eyes or whatever. Never happens again.
Well, he immediately took the goggles off, and it didn't seem to be much of a thing anymore.
They also have the...
Also, it wasn't dark enough to even need the goggles.
Everyone could see just fine. She had a candle. It wasn't...
If anything, it made his vision worse.
It narrowed it, at the very least.
Well, there is a part where he goes back because he kind of likes the prostitute.
Yeah.
They're trying to create that little tension, and they're back in her home. It's like, well, I got to protect you because you went out of your way to save my life.
Right.
She just opened a door.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, loud noises. And apparently that saved his life.
So before he gets back there, he is taken into jail. He's put in a Dickensian prison cell. There's just like hay on the ground or whatever. And and there's some guy in there who's like, oh, you're gonna have to dig out of here, whatever the fuck.
Why'd you make him sound like Uncle Remus?
I'm terrible at accents.
That was terrible.
But our cop has stolen the time traveler's pocket watch.
Yeah.
But it turns out his pocket watch is his time travel device. That's another thing they do in the show. Anything like his is a pocket watch. Sometimes it's a thing on your wrist. It's a whole car. Anything can be a time travel device. So Jack the Ripper from future Jack the Ripper shows up to get his time travel back so he can travel through time or whatever. He just has like a laser can. He has like full on future. He's blowing up walls. He leaves a police station full of witnesses. Nobody's that
I think
bothered.
he announced, I'm coming back in time.
Yeah. Well, he eventually tells the detective that he's coming back from time, and he tells him, and
he's like giving away secrets.
The detective
Princess
says,
Di is going to die from the celebrity.
Very specifically, the detective says that my nephew writes a bunch of stories about space aliens and time travelers, and nobody wants to hear his nonsense either. And I get into jail or whatever. Apparently now he's the 20s flapper. I don't know what my voice is. I don't know what my voice work is. That's going to come important. Remember that, because that's going to be important later on.
I didn't want to give it away.
So he eventually shows him the time. He hits the button on the pocket watch. It makes a fucking time tunnel, and the guy goes, "Oh, I guess I owe my nephew an apology."
Yeah.
He's immediately fine with time travel. He's not like screaming. You know, like imagine you're in the 1800s, right? You've just figured out wiping your ass, and now you see a time traveler, and you don't. I would shit myself and run out of the building. I'm not going to be like, oh, well, I guess that's...
he even said,
cool.
No one cares about men on Mars.
Yeah.
I don't even know if they...
Yeah, it's a concept. Yeah, so they go back to... So he escapes when that happens and runs back to her house. We find out that she is a great artist. So she draws a sketch of the
montage for that sketch.
It's
so long.
It's like a minute and a half of
I went to the bathroom
drawing.
I went to the bathroom hearing the music, and in my head I was like, oh, they're doing a goddamn montage of her drawing, like erasing.
He's also getting a fingerprint off of the pocket watch at the same time. A process that involves crushing up some like charcoal or whatever, and then dust throwing it on the pocket watch. The time I took to describe it is longer than it would take to actually do it. It takes 2 solid minutes of her drawing, cutting back to him grinding some fucking shit in a box. It's so slow and boring to finally reveal a not that good drawing. It kind of looked like a vampire.
It was all right.
It was fine. It was fine.
It was 1880s good.
I guess. I thought what was going to happen was, oh, she's going to turn out to be the first sketch artist. You'd think this show would have...
Like one of the first impressionists, like the...
Or like a police sketch artist. Like the idea to be the first, like, oh, it's all witness, I can draw that person. I thought that's what they were going to do, right? No, they just make up this character.
I mean, they already had that anyway, like old wanted posters from the Old West.
Sure, I guess, but...
She was the first character artist in a theme park.
Yeah. Great. She's like, I drew him. This is it perfect. And it's just got a giant head. He's like kicking a soccer ball.
A Panama hat.
But he sneaks the thumbprint. Here's the other thing that I have to complain about the time enforcement agency. They have no way of communicating with the person who they send back in time, who, by the way, the only one seems to be our hero. They have one time car. They got him. That appears to be it. Lots
of killers going across time.
Yeah.
Only one guy on the job.
There's no way to communicate with them, right? You would think they would have... I'm not even saying... Okay, in the world with time travel, you can't then also have a radio. Fine, you've set your rules. But have some sort of like, if we don't hear from you in 2 days, we're sending someone else to look for you. Meet us at this point. Some sort of arrangement where you can figure this out. No, if you go back in time, you're completely on your own. So like, if you lose your watch, you just live in the 1800s now, I guess.
Leave a note.
Well, he does. He has her bring the sketch to the local newspaper.
And they put it in the page.
They put it on the front page.
And they look in the micro-mache. The
microfiche?
The microfiche, for the libraries. I'm like, oh, here he is.
Here's my favorite thing about that, too, is he puts his name, it says like Logan Publishing or something in the bottom of the picture, and they go, oh, he's sending us a message. You go, scan that image backwards and forwards. They go, put it through the infrared. And it literally just turns red. That's what they think. It's not even like a layer. They just turn the image red, and they're like, "Oh, there's a thumbprint." I don't know why you couldn't just see the fucking. It's so goddamn stupid. But yeah, so they find the thumbprint, which allows them to find
ID the
guy who turns out to be like a 13-year-old,
and that's
because in 2007 he's a 13-year-old because the person who is back in the 1800s is from 2037. He's like the future version of that kid.
Yeah, so he clearly is an angsty kid listening to like pop punk. He's very upset at the world.
Some goth kid somewhere.
Yeah, he poisoned his foster parents in 2007. This is before Obama got elected.
That's true.
Wait, that was...
You think that's what broke it?
Wait. That was one of the I might be mixing it up because I was high as fuck watching this.
Sure,
That was the only way I could enjoy this.
Yeah.
But I think one of the reasons she had to die was she was going to give birth to the 44th president.
What? I missed that entirely. I believe you.
I might have mixed. I was in and out.
I believe you entirely, but I do not remember that. The only thing he said was like, I want to kill 100 girls or whatever.
Yeah.
Bullshit. Because he wants to, it's like, I'm a visionary.
He is 4chan.
Yeah.
Don't fuck me, will you?
Yeah. Exactly. He's just a fucking creepy incel.
They wouldn't let me watch the Batman movie in my whole
At one point,
outfit.
he says to this, there's so many weird choices. When the cop is arresting when the detective from the past is arresting our time cop, the prostitute comes out and she's like, tell him what happened. And she's like, oh yeah, he was fighting with some other guy. He had the face of pure evil. He ran away, had a big knife or whatever. And that
was her description for him. He had the face of pure evil.
Yeah.
So white, black,
tall, short,
Filipino. What are we doing?
Yeah, I need someone to work with. He said,
and then she drew it. She drew it, but it wasn't the face of pure evil at all.
It was a dude. Just a dude, bald. But the cop says to us, like, well, you want me to take the word of a fallen woman over that of a colonel in the whatever army, the guy he punched? And our cop says, so much for equal rights. What the fuck are you talking about? 1888. You have no equal rights, lunatic.
Well, he's got to do that virtue signal thing. He's got to whatever it's called. I don't know what the word for it.
Yeah,
a woke time cop.
Yeah,
he's just correcting social morals.
Yeah, he does that for one episode. The next episode couldn't give a shit less. He convinces the guys from the future they have to stop this other guy.
Did you just sex shame her?
However, our Ripper has kidnapped her and said, it's such shitty, right? He goes like, he leaves a note and it's like, when the hands meet, she dies. And the detective is like, what could that mean? It's fucking time, you asshole. It's midnight. What are you talking about? I solved it halfway through you reading the clue. I figured it out, you fucking idiots. He's like, oh, I don't know what that means. Like, oh, it's got to be time, maybe. It's like, oh, but where? And then it's just a picture of Big Ben. Yeah. It's like, well, maybe the fucking picture.
The giant clock in the middle of town.
You fucking assholes.
Surrounded by Parliament and nothing but security. I'm just going to drag this woman. Ugh.
He goes back. So they go there to save her, which they do.
The shitty Riddler. It's the shitty Riddler.
It is the Shitler. They go up to Big Ben. They have a confrontation. He does the worst karate you've ever seen. They had to have him twice. They have to have him kind of try and do karate. But it's like if I just started. When I was a kid, I used to pretend to know how to do karate, and it's better than this.
It's
he fights him a little bit. The guy escapes. He's out. Our hero doesn't win in the first episode. We meet his nephew. We meet the detective's nephew from before, right? So the nephew shows up for some. I don't know why he's there. He's there just to get this gag off because he's not.
It's very convenient to the plot.
Well, the detective just brought him.
Well, I don't know if you know this about the 1880s London. Only 7 people lived there.
It appears to be, and they killed 2 of them in this episode. So for some reason, the detective brings his nephew to this crime scene, right? And we see our hero walk over to the nephew, say something to him with the prostitute, and then go back to the detective or whatever. And he's like, yeah, okay, everybody, whatever, some shitty time pun, I'm sure. And then he says, it was a pleasure to meet you, H.G. Wells. Full name. He just says his full. He could have said, it was a pleasure to meet you, H.G. And everyone would have fucking got it. But no, you can't assume your audience has any intelligence. We have to say his full name and then wink at the camera like an asshole.
I've always wanted to meet H.G. Wells.
Yeah, he just fucking says it and then hits his little time button.
First of all, who's always wanted to meet H.G. Wells? And the long history.
Valid point. Why?
I want to meet that guy.
He's been dead for 200 years. You wanted to meet H.G. Wells. Okay.
Over Plato, over Socrates. Over my grandfather.
He then says to the fucking... Oh, this makes me so mad. Where is it? I have it written down. He's like, the detective says something like, oh, I don't know how you figured out whatever. And he says, elementary, dear inspector.
Oh, yeah.
Wrong fucking author, dickhead. What are you talking about?
It's Time Douche.
He made me... Oh, it's so
It's Time Douche. It's a guy named Chad who goes back in time
he might as well be
just
Chad.
to get lit.
He looks like a fucking Chad, by the way. He goes back in time.
So, bro, who's killing all the puss around here? Chad is. Jack the...
He goes back to present or 2007. Now, by the way, have done nothing to prevent the Jack the Ripper murders. All he has done is allowed the right number of women to be murdered.
That's clearly what that was supposed to do.
However, he has not stopped Jack the Ripper.
He wasn't supposed to.
No, that's not my point.
Oh,
Future Ripper can just come back and start killing women again. Yeah. He's just free in time. He has done nothing. So nothing has happened in this episode other than someone killed 2 prostitutes.
They were establishing a pretty cool villain that was going to come back.
I'm assuming that's what we're supposed to think. These episodes are going to be Monster of the Week, and then every so often he'll have to run in with his Moriarty, right?
This is post X-Files, right?
X-Files is still on for sure at this point.
Like X-Files is 94, this is 97.
Yeah. It's in the middle of the X-Files run. So yeah, it's got that. It's for sure trying to do that. But that's another thing. X-Files is on. ER is on. Fucking Friends. All these shit, like real television is on. This is on ABC. It's wild.
That was their they were like, we're going to compete with NBC. We're going to compete with Fox. We're going to get that blockbuster hit, that movie everyone saw.
Oh, yeah, Timecop. Such a weird choice. It wasn't even successful. So he goes back to 2007, right? And she's like, oh, let me look at that pocket watch or whatever. And they have some thing where it's like, oh, it's future tech, meaning it's technology from even the future.
Which I thought was a cool idea.
I did like that.
Because that's got to be hard to battle if the guy's got even more shit than you have.
Exactly. And for them to go, nope, no one looks at it. It goes in the vault because if we have this technology from the future, we're fucking up our timeline. So, okay, you're paying a little bit of attention to detail. I'll give you that. I like that moment. Kurt Fowler comes in and he's like pissed off at our cop because I don't know why. It's so dumb. He has this book, right? He has like this first edition copy of The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. And he goes, yeah, it's my first edition. It's fucking ruined. It's worthless now because what he did was hook up Annie the prostitute with H.G. Wells, and now there's illustrations in the book.
That sucks.
And he says he's like, this book that was full of beautiful words now is littered with these pictures. It's worthless. It's not fucking worthless. It's still it's changed, right? That's what happened.
By the hands of a whore.
But it's just like it's still a first edition. It just has pictures in it now. Why? Why are you so mad? Fucking
I think that's the guy's job. The time historian is to recognize when things aren't right.
That's mostly what he does. Like he goes, "Oh, look at this."
Because I'm like, why don't they have a computer to just do this guy's job?
Right.
There's some elements that would make the show really good.
What we didn't mention about the sublimator is that it puts knowledge into your head. So like he looks at he looks at the sublimator picture, right?
To prepare himself to go to 1880s, he's got to.
Before he does, like the first time, she's like. She runs the thing through his head. And he's like, oh, it gave me a headache or whatever. And she goes, well, tell me about New York, Sunday the 5th, 1954 or whatever. And he's like, oh, this was at the top of the charts and this and this. And she, yeah, how did I know this? The sublimator puts it's the fucking Matrix. She's downloading information to his head. He uses that no times. What does he uses it.
Well, it's not like he's going to go to 1880 and use 1954 as a reference.
Well, no, they sublimate him for 1880 after that.
Yeah.
And then the only thing he uses that for is to do the thumbprint. But, like, I could have faked... You just needed dust.
Yeah.
You don't need to have fucking science in your head to teach you that you need dust to dust a fingerprint.
Well, the best line, I think, in that show was after she puts that in his head, he was like, oh, I wish I was... how many contestants on Jeopardy want to get
yeah.
Which means Jeopardy is still happening in 2007, which is the closest that show's gotten to being right about the future. And no matter what in the future, there's going to be Jeopardy.
For sure. Episode 2, The Heist. Did you watch the Diamond Heist?
That's the one I was talking about. This woman's got to die. Or am I...
Did you watch the wrong episode? This is about a diamond heist and there's a dirty cop.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah. Okay.
You watched that episode. They go back to 1977.
I fell asleep.
And you woke up and watched another episode.
I think I was in I got half of that one and the other. No, I remember. It's, okay. The time trial. Okay. Set it.
So they go back to 1977, right? And there's a cop. There's a guy robbing a bank. Now here's what. So it opens with this guy robbing a bank, and this guy's like, "Hey, how did you get in here?" And he goes, 5 minutes. You're not going to care." And he hits these two like metal things, throws them down. They look kind of like grenades, like stun grenades.
They look exactly like Terminator grenades.
They're super futuristic, right? So I'm like, oh, that's our future guy. He's coming back in time, and he says stuff. He's like, no seismographs.
Wait, he wasn't from the future.
He was not from the fucking future. I was very confused.
That's still. I thought he.
No. So he's the guy, right? So it's 1977, right? He shows up, he drops these two grenades, they stun the two guards, he's there to steal these $10 million in diamonds, right? Even as he's doing that, he's like, no seismographs, this lock is nothing. These people must be pretty trusting or whatever.
Really glad there's no future technology to stop me from doing this.
And then one of the guards wakes up, hits a silent alarm, another cop, like just a regular ass cop, shows up from the 70s cop, arrests the guy, and the guy's
already
like,
on cocaine.
That guy
totally
is sweaty. They find the guy, but the diamonds are missing. Even though he's like, he must have hit him in there somewhere. It's like, you're never gonna find him or whatever. That guy is from 1977. So what the fuck are those grenades? There's 1977 stun grenades? What are you talking? It's insane.
No, that's...
But he is not from the future, because we see him 30 years later in jail as the old guy. He goes back in time to get the fucking diamond.
Okay, here's the thing. I thought he was from the future, but since they got caught, he's just been in jail that whole time.
No, he's just from then, because the 70s cop, the young one that our cop goes back to and works with, fucking knows. He's like, oh, Griselli, he's like on the top 10 list or whatever. We've been hunting him for 10 years. He's like a known bad guy from the 70s. He's not from,
But he was in jail. They already got him. Why would they look for him? He was getting out of jail and they were going to try to find him.
All right. So let's set up the premise of this episode, right? This man who stole the diamonds in the 70s, hid them in the 70s, has been in jail for 30 years, gets out of jail, now goes back in time to get his diamonds. Okay, that's step one. Step two, our cop finds the cop that busted him, who is still an NYPD officer.
He's about to retire.
The
Jack Nicholson wannabe.
Just chewing gum, chewing a lot of gum. Says, come back in time with me because you know how this guy works. We'll stop him, right? So he brings a detective from 2007, who's a detective from the 70s who stopped him in the first place, but now he's old.
Yeah.
Brings him back in time.
That was his first big bust.
Correct. That guy who was dirty from the word go. There was no chance for 2 seconds that man wasn't going to be dirty. At one point, he says to our cop, it's the 70s. Civil rights are for sissies. Piece of shit.
It was effective.
Well, yeah, he pulled out brass knuckles and knocked the hot dog vendor's teeth out. The fucking lunatic. So that guy, they find our villain immediately again. He's going to get the diamonds or whatever, but they intercept him. And our older cop from 2007, who was from the 70s, who's come back in time, turns on our time cop because he wants the diamonds for himself. So our time cop...
Yeah, he deserves it.
He deserves it because, he
put in the time.
He did work, so of course he should steal. So our time cop then meets up with the cop from the 2007 younger self from the 70s, right? And they're going to work together to stop the older cop from
it turns into like a really bad version of an Elmore Leonard novel.
It is so bad.
The funny thing is, like, most of these episodes, time travel's the least important thing.
Yeah, they just have to go to a set.
Yeah.
That's it. There's no other real element of time. Even this one, there's a little bit of, so like in Timecop the movie, matter can't occupy the same space. So if you meet your older self or your younger self and you touch, you'll die.
Which I don't understand.
It's a thing they made up in the Timecop movie. So they're
because
doing
matter has a consciousness and is like, oh, we can't do this.
It's so stupid, but it's a thing they made up.
More of the same thing. Like the whole existence isn't made of carbon. Aren't we all made of stars?
What's in that cup?
The truth?
Yeah. So what I don't, it's just a thing they made up in Timecop so that they're following it here, right? That's all it is. Fine. They try to do this. They try to do a storyline of like some sort of emotional resonance in this episode. So our Timecop in the beginning has been pulling 16-hour days, and the lady's like, "You got to live a life, man. You can't just be a cop all the time, whatever.
You can't just be a time cop."
He goes back
living across eons of civilization.
I feel like if I had a time cop, it's all like, you want me to go see Joker? I'm traveling through fucking time. I'm going to do that always. That's all I'm going to do.
Why would I think about
anything else
other
I'm
than
time traveling? He goes back in time. He meets the younger version of the detective. That younger version of the detective is having problems with his wife because he's too dedicated to the job, right? Yeah. So, parallel.
Actually, a little bit of both. Like, too dedicated to the job, and she was kind of shitty about it.
I mean, look, I understand. You married a detective, he might get a call.
I mean, communication
randomly.
is important in a relationship.
But I get what her thing is like, I know your job is important. I just want to feel like I'm important too. I don't know where I fit into your life. And
also tell me the innate details of your classified case involving time travel.
Our cop meets 70s cop. Oh, by the way, we're skipping a giant part of this episode, which is not important, but is also huge. They come through time in their car, but then they're not in a car. They land at the feet of the Village People. Literally the band. Because they look up and there's a fucking Indian and a construction worker and a cop and a biker or whatever, right? And they're looking down on them and they're like, "Oh, who, you guys look like we're the River City Boys," or whatever the fuck they say. And he goes, "You look like the Village People." And when they leave, the Village People go, "Oh, Village People. It's got a nice ring to it." So they Forrest Gump their way into the Village People storyline. Here's my other question there. So they land. Two guys up on a fire escape. There's like a black dude in a pink suit and another guy see them and go, "Hey!" and just start to chase them. So they run away.
I was trying to figure that out.
Why?
I think I figured out why.
Okay,
because that was bothering me too.
Yeah.
I think he stole clothes,
but they hadn't had a chance. They had just fallen on the ground. Did they fall through the clothes? They're on the ground looking up at the Village People because they just come through the time bubble.
I caught this too, but the only way I could rationalize
it's got to be that they stole their clothes, right?
I think he stole clothes.
I feel like they just didn't edit it. Right.
I thought I blanked out, to be honest.
No, I think they just didn't.
Have you ever watched a show where you just start filling in all the plot holes? Sure. That's what the show is. On
this show? Yeah, I've done that a lot.
I think that's what I've done. I think the show is simulating time travel. Because you're like, did I go back in time? I missed something.
I also they're going to send him back in time. The lady cop is not into them sending the old cop back in time, right? She's like, "At least let me run a psych profile."
Yeah.
Nah,
he's fine.
We're not doing any of that.
He's cool.
Yeah.
He did some shots with us last night at the bar. He's pretty cool.
Yeah. He immediately shows up and is just pistol whipping people. But also felt like that's kind of what cops do. Like, "Do you want to run a psych profile? Give him a gun. He'll be fine."
I did. Okay, the whole time I was thinking about this show.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, Cubis is making me watch a cop show about a cop that goes back in time. Right. Purely, he goes back in time and accidentally kills a black guy in every episode.
Every episode.
Oh no! Again,
probably
just can't stop.
These black kids, just won't keep reaching for captors.
Shows up in their own homes.
Yeah.
And then there's a third episode where then the cops retaliate.
Yeah, this
gets courtroom testimony and.
Man, I would do a time travel movie where you go back in time and just stop those cops from killing black. You show up in Botham Jean's apartment and just smack that bitch in the face.
It's not your doormat.
Yeah. Hey, look around. Are those people in those picture frames your family?
Oh,
they're not, right? Get out. There is a line that I enjoy in this episode.
Maybe we're the next time cops, and we have. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, go.
There's a line in this episode.
I don't want to make this contemporary with this podcast of today's news events because I don't want this to become dated.
Right.
So, future time cops will have to come back to this recording.
It might get changed. They go when he stops him. He's like, "So that's what this is about, money?" And the cop goes, "No. It's about a lot of money." I like that. I kind of like that line because they're playing him straight 70s douchebag. So I kind of enjoyed
Not only is he a 70s douchebag, but he's in 2007 about to retire. That's a lot of years.
Yeah.
87, 97.
There's 30 years at least.
So,
and he's a detective in 77, so you got to assume he's done a few years before that, right?
Yeah. So, but he's never dropped the act.
He's still that exact
still
same
kinda
cop. He's still wearing the same hat.
Yeah.
There's so many terrible lines. At one point, he says, "Guess what, detective? You're not the only one that can play cop. You're both actually cops. What are you talking about? You're both police officers. Neither of you are playing cop." Also, I feel like the young cop should be able to just shoot the old cop, but not the other way around.
Okay, this is what I need help on. Again, never those gap things where I'm just like, did I watch that right?
Mm.
Okay, there's a scene where they're doing a shootout.
Right.
And the guy's shooting at himself, younger.
Right. You would disappear. That's
immediately
straight up Back to the Future. You would just disappear.
We all know what would happen.
Yeah. It makes no sense. The young one should be able to shoot at the old one, no problem.
Doesn't the young one actually shoots?
Well, the young one gets a cut on his face.
Okay, so
and then
the young one
scar appears on the old guy's face.
Okay, that's the order of operation?
Yeah, because he's shooting at him and he shoots the wall, a clip of like a chunk of cement flies, cuts the young one's face, and then you see a scar on the old guy's face where the cut is on the young one.
Yeah, that old guy sucks. That's an idiot. Clearly a beat cop.
The whole reason he feels like he deserves this is because when he makes this bust, but the diamonds are never found. And he's under suspicion that he stole the diamonds. His career falls apart. The wife leaves him. He's 30 years on the force, so he's like, I want payback for this. I'm going to steal $30. Here's what I don't understand. When he shows up, when they first go to him, he's the one who says, time enforcement, what are you guys, in charge of all the clocks? Implying almost that he doesn't know. And they say we're just a special unit. What's the most we can say? Implying they're not allowed to tell him about time travel.
And then immediately tell him.
Immediately tell him about time travel. But also, what is this world where time travel exists, but only a couple of people know? That's not a thing. If time travel exists, everybody knows about it. And then he immediately just knows about it. He understands it and is fine with it again.
Yeah.
Everybody should know, to the point where this fucking mook who's been in jail for 30 years knows immediately about time travel.
I kind of feel like that's how it would happen, though. Like, anytime something amazing I'm still incredibly scared and amazed by 3D printing.
Okay, yeah.
I can't tell you why it works. I don't understand anything about it, but I do know that at some point...
Isn't it like this is just me honestly sidetracking. It's like making a sculpture, essentially, right? Like, it's a block... You put a block in, and then it kind of carves whatever the item you want
sculpture.
out of the sculpture.
Yeah, it just creates things. So you don't buy things, you just create things.
Yeah, but not movable parts.
No, they're building parts.
3D print. Yeah, but it's building the individual pieces of a car that is then assembled into a car.
Right.
It's not like you put in a thing and it just makes a car. Yeah.
You still got to put it together.
You still got to make a car. Yeah,
it's the IKEA version right now. They're working on it. But they're gonna build. There's gonna be a point where people can just print their own guns, and then we're just gonna have to trust society.
That's already a thing.
Yeah,
it's literally already a thing.
I know.
There's a guy from Austin that
was sending
made
out
the plans or whatever.
Yeah, didn't he get picked up in Thailand?
I think he's bagging kids or something. There's something like that, or selling drugs.
So,
or something.
but any time.
Also, allegedly, if anyone's listening, he seems like a guy to be religious. So allegedly,
I'll go on record and say he absolutely did.
Allegedly.
I'll let you take that route. Here's my point. Every time there's this new amazing advance in technology, we pretty much accept it pretty quick. We're like, yeah, whatever. So now we're like idiots with our amazing cell phones that have more technology than we've had in eons put together, and we're just hammering at it trying to get browsers to work. So I kind of feel
the first jumps in technology very often are porn based.
Yeah, all technology. All technology started from sex.
Yeah.
The first phone call. Watson.
Yeah.
Come here
and suck my dick.
I need you. It's the booty call. It's the invention of
the original booty call.
The first film ever done. Edison, naked people dancing and cartwheeling. The first photographs naked. Everything started from I want to see some titties.
Do you think time travel will happen because you want to see?
I want to see Cleopatra's titties. I want to see that ass snake titty.
So it gets pretty convoluted, but
or Helen of Troy. Fuck that. I want to see Helen. Really,
the titties that lost his house and shit. That's what we're doing.
That's what did it. Just no brushing.
Also, I feel like they're all ugly. Attractive people didn't exist until like 1965. Everybody,
maybe. Rod Stewart was a sex symbol in '77.
Fair enough.
I'm gonna go 2004.
So our old dirty cop now has a bunch of future tech that the old criminal has brought back with him, who they have knocked unconscious and sent back into the 2007. He's sitting in an interrogation room. The head of the Timecop, the dude from that 70s show, walks in and he goes, "You're a cop. I can smell it on you." Yeah, good deduction, dickhead. You're surrounded by police officers.
You're in a police station.
You're clearly in a police station.
Who's trying to trick you?
Yeah. He wasn't. No one was trying to come in and say, "I'm not a cop." He's just asking you questions.
Which means there's no Miranda rights.
Oh no!
In 2007, which they kind of got.
It's 2007.
Which they also
civil rights
got
are for sissies.
No due process.
Yeah. So they know where the fucking heist is going to be. They go there. However, our dirty cop has now kidnapped his ex-wife, but the younger version, so that they'll leave him alone to get the diamonds or whatever. We find out they just hid the diamonds in some wet cement the whole time. No one thought to look there when they went searching for these diamonds.
Wet cement? I thought he just put it in this giant iron vat.
Oh, I don't know. He said we'll hide them in the wet cement. They'll never think to look there. Why not? Like, it takes a while for that cement to dry. It's not like he put it in and it dried immediately and they go, no one's going to think to dig up the concrete. No, it's still wet when the cops show up.
He put his initials in it with a heart.
Big X. Just
a diamond.
This made me also very angry. So the young criminal is there. He wants his diamonds, but him and the dirty cop are like acting like they're going to split it or whatever. Our heroes show up. He's like, "I want my diamonds. Don't think I won't kill everybody in this room to get them." And our cop, who's got the diamonds, our time cop, goes, "You want the diamonds? Here, catch," or whatever. Yeah. He's got a fistful of diamonds, and he throws them in the air. Now, you would think that would be a distraction, allowing you to go for the gun or hide. He throws the diamonds at him and stands perfectly still. Nobody moves.
He genuinely was passive-aggressively.
He just damn. So the diamonds hit the guy, and he's like, "Oh, diamonds!" Looks around, and then he turns around and starts shooting at them. But like, you could have done any number of things when he threw those diamonds.
Also, he could have just shot the guy holding the diamonds.
Yeah, he's got a future gun this whole time. By the way, this is how shitty of a cop. How shitty of a cop our fucking our young detective cop is. Time Cop pulls out a future gun. It's a silver future laser gun, right? And
it says future gun.
It might as well. It looks like a toy. It looks like a toy gun. It looks like a future, like a toy gun. It would say future gun on the side. Our detective goes, "If that thing's department issue, then I'm John Travolta." And he goes, "Oh, I got it from a guy in Vice." That's it.
Oh, yeah.
That's the entire explanation of why you have
coke
a
dealers
laser weapon.
Of course, coke dealers would have amazing future technology.
Fucking insane. Now, our young cop and the dirty cop are having and the older dirty version of him are having a confrontation, and the young cop's walking towards him like, "Yeah, you can't touch him." He knows like if he touches him, they both die or whatever. And he's like, if this is my future, then I don't want it anyway or whatever. Yeah. And meantime, shootout happens. Dirty cop gets shot. Gives the time travel thing back. He's like, "Hey, you probably want this." He gives his time travel thing back to Timecop. That's it. That's it. They shoot the other guy. They shoot one of them shoots the bad guy.
Let's do this right. Let's just call young Jeff versus old Jeff.
Young Jeff and old Jeff.
Or they're having to duke out because young Jeff is saying that in the future he's going to be a kind of a douchebag.
He's going to be a dirty cop, and he's like, "I'm a good cop, so I don't want to be a dirty cop."
And young Jeff is like, "I'm still idealist. I have a marriage, but the wife leaves him." Like, I feel like the episodes I've been watching so far, it feels like the writer was going through a very bad divorce.
Oh, clearly. Yeah.
Just a terrible divorce.
In the first episode, it's all about hating women.
Yeah.
And then the second episode is about how your wife leaves you and it ruins your life.
Yeah, ruins it and forces you into a career of evil.
Yeah, for sure.
The only other female in the show is kind of a bitch who won't get off the guy's ass because she wants to make sure he's competent to handle the stress of traveling through time.
They go back and so he shoots him, and then he says they're like young Jeff says, like, so is that my future? And he goes, one of many or whatever.
Immediately is like, well, I guess.
Yeah.
But you could change it.
Right.
I know I'm supposed to tell you that not to change anything.
Don't change the future. The whole goddamn premise of this show is don't change the future, and all they do is change the future.
Not only they change it. Okay. This stands out. I'm so mad at this.
Yeah.
When he goes back, the young cop who ages into a dirty cop, because the dirty cop dies in the past and the guy corrects his past, they find the jewels. That was the
thing that
impetus.
was fucking up his career.
Yeah,
right?
It's because they always suspected that he
was dirty and stole the jewels back.
Even though for 30 years he's clearly lived like shit, wearing the same clothes from 1977. He could have retired after 15 years.
Right.
And then
buy a boat.
Yeah, exactly. So, but because they corrected and changed it, he still stays married. They find the jewels and ends up the police commissioner.
Right.
In the front page for some reason as a completely different looking dude.
Him retiring, by the way, is why he's on the front page. You know how they had put a retirement announcement on the front page of the newspaper. More also to the point, you would assume becoming police commissioner would be more work. The wife was leaving because he was too dedicated to the job. You would think this career progression of advancement would have taken more work.
Yeah, but he wasn't under the cloud of corruption.
I guess.
Because no police chief ever has the cloud of corruption hovering over his personal life.
Then the argument they kind of make in the show is that you're not supposed to change anything in the past, but you can change a couple of things as long as it's not a big deal, right? So like the girl putting a time machine now having illustrations in it, who cares? It doesn't really change anything. Although, again, butterfly effect, she's now not a prostitute. Who knows who was born? Multiple changes have happened. I would argue that fucking regime change in the head of the New York Police Department is a major fucking change. Like, it's a major change to history.
And they're cool. They know each other.
Yeah. Oh, maybe.
This young cop.
They live in the same world. So now he's grown up knowing that time travel exists. Am I right? Am I right about that?
He could have just shown up on that day.
He has spent the next 30 years knowing that time travel exists.
They could have had that actor who played the old version in the paper that they showed in the picture. Wasn't the same guy.
Different actor.
It was a different actor. So they could have just had that guy that got shot, who was a bad guy, come in as the police chief, like, hey, what's up, brother?
When they allowing some people in the 1800s to know that time travel exists, whatever, fine, they're long dead. But this motherfucker has now spent from 1977 till 2007 knowing about time travel.
Did nothing about 9/11.
Never met. You would have thought.
Did nothing about 9/11.
And then our time cop goes up to the lady and the lady cop and is like, so she's like, oh, you look at. He's like, if you don't mind, I'd like to take the rest of the day off. He says to the other guy, and he's like, hey, do you want to get a bite to eat or whatever? Can't be a cop all the time. Trying to show like, oh, I learned my lesson or whatever.
How?
No, not at all. You had to work every fucking minute of the day to solve this goddamn time crime.
What lesson? How did he learn? Like, because the guy and his wife.
Yeah, so he saw that leading to a divorce and now realizes, oh, I can't be that. Except that
he's not even in a relationship.
He's not in a relationship. They are not even friends as far as I could tell. They were friendly, office friendly, but then when they leave, he does do a little hand on the small of the back move. He's a little something going on.
Maybe it's like Law and Order. It's time Law and Order where everything's implied. Like you found out years later that Jack was sleeping with all his assistants, all the ADAs.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Even the lesbian one. There was like a weird. Like you found out she was gay like well after the fact.
Yeah.
Maybe that's their way in Timecop of just addressing all these plot holes. It's like it's implied.
Sure. 2 episodes in, what is your impression of the show? Do you think it's going to get better or do you think it's going to go worse?
I know for a fact it's going to get worse because
you watched more of it already.
No, and yes, but also like I love shitty TV, but you can see in the writing like, oh, is this going to be the end? I know writers' rooms.
Yeah.
So then you're like, oh, this is them clearly telegraphing to each other that this show's done.
I feel like that Village People moment was a tonal shift in the show. To go from the first episode, which is darkish for this kind of show. It's Jack the Ripper. There's multiple murders. To go from that to just a Forrest Gump moment of naming the Village People.
It's that thing in screenwriting where everyone has a formula. Like, what's your device?
Right.
and the device is the time travel, but also what's your comedic device. So, like the Scott Bakula Quantum Leap, like the beginning where he changes, like, oh boy, that was like their oh boy, was just putting him in future clothes in weird situations, and he's got to find a new outfit, and you're like, it'll just be a new thing week after week. It's like The Simpsons with the chalkboard. Every show was trying to find their oh boy Simpsons moment, and that was theirs. It just sucked. It made no sense. We're going to put a car in there. These cars are cool, but the car disappears.
The car disappears because
that's also cool.
Because they for sure can't afford to get that car off of that track. That car exists in that tunnel, and that is it. Anything you want to plug? This will be out Thursday. I don't know. What do you got going on? A bunch of shows. Just check my website.
I think I'm doing Punch, and this is national, so.
Yeah, you can plug it wherever, but also let people know in Austin, whatever.
In Austin, I'm doing Punch in the first Tuesday of November, and I'll be doing stuff. I don't feel comfortable. When does anybody listen to podcasts and going, I'm immediately don't look up my website because apparently it's been hacked and you'll get a virus.
Okay, don't do that. You can look up my website, chriscubascomedy.com, for all my dates going forward. The Sting, first Wednesday of the month. If you like the show, rate, review, subscribe on iTunes. Here's a little 5-star review. Doesn't hurt.
Actually, hit subscribe too. That actually helps.
Subscribe is cool. Yeah, so subscribe, please. Do all that cool shit. And we'll be back next week.